Hey gorgeous, welcome to another video. I hope you're doing well. So today I'm back with another speed building video for my save file in the world of Willow Creek, and again it's going to be a Queen and Victorian style house in the exact same neighborhood as where the Goth family lives. However, today it's not going to be a residential lot, it's actually going to be a rental lot because I just want to make sure to include rental lots in every single world. Well, maybe not every single world. I haven't really thought of what I'm going to do yet with the smaller worlds, for example, Forgotten Hollow or Glimmerbrook. But I do want to make sure to have a lot more rental lots anyway. Because one of the things that I actually don't necessarily like that much about The Sims 4 is the fact that you have unlimited access to all of the worlds. And on one hand, that sounds pretty cool. But for me personally, it tends to really break the suspension of disbelief. For example, where your Sims has like a 9 to 5 job and they live in Willow Creek. And then, on a Friday night, they decide to grab a beer in the bar in Sulani. Whereas in real life, that would probably be like a 24-hour flight or something. So I don't really enjoy that so much. So what I usually do in my personal gameplay is I sort of like to cluster the worlds together. So for example, I think Willow Creek and Newcrest might fit together, or let's say you have like a celebrity living in Oasis Springs and then going to all these events easily in Dalsall Valley. Or maybe you can even cluster Windenburg together with Glimmerbrook or Forgotten Hollow and maybe even Hanford and Bagley. I mean, these are all kind of more European looking towns anyway, even though Europe is still pretty big, but it's The Sims still. But I like to sort of cluster these worlds together, and then if my Sim wants to go, for example, to Sulani, they would need to take a holiday there and stay in a rental lot. So the rental lot is actually a free edition that came with Snowy Escape Pack. So I think that is super handy. It's available for all players. So even if you only have base game, you can still use this house as a rental lot. However, like I said in my previous speed building video as well, I do use a lot of the packs to decorate my houses with. So just be aware of that. Also, this house is completely play tested, so it should work just fine. You won't be running into any issues there. So I actually wanted to quickly talk about the storyline that I have in mind for this house, because I have been thinking about it quite a bit. And you can also, by the way, just find it on my gallery. My origin ID is BriaSimsYT, so you should be able to find it there. And I did put a short description of the storyline with the description of this build in the gallery. But the idea is basically that obviously this is going to be a very old house that has been built during the Victorian era, and then maybe it was owned by a family or even like generations of a family. But at some point they decided to abandon this house, or maybe even it makes more sense that the last people in the family tree maybe had died, so that kind of left this house empty and no one was really living here. But because this house is old, it's actually a historical landmark. So I would imagine that perhaps the Willow Creek government hired like a contractor to restore this house. And after the restoration, it was sold again to a different family who went and lived here. And they actually had to leave this house after a week or so because, they've been seeing ghosts. It's actually a haunted house, and they've been seeing like a lot of paranormal activity, and they didn't feel comfortable. They didn't feel safe in this house, so they left. And I kind of imagine that maybe these people went on to like a lot of talk shows talking about their experiences in this house and like the paranormal things that they have seen. whilst they were living in this house. So yeah, this house quickly became really, really famous, and I imagine a lot of tourists maybe wanting to come to Willow Creek to see this house for themselves. And then there was this one super, super smart real estate investors. Maybe they're the land grabs, maybe they're the altos. I haven't decided that yet, but they decided to make this into an Airbnb. So it was renovated or restored, let's say, because it needs to look old. It needs to look like an original Victorian house, obviously. And now people can stay here for their holidays. But I would imagine staying in a haunted house for a holiday might not be for everybody, but maybe you have like a very dairy sim, or I also kind of like the idea of a storyline of maybe a writer going here to investigate whether or not this house is actually haunted, and maybe they're super skeptical about ghosts in haunted houses in general, and they don't really believe in it. So then they go and stay in this house to actually investigate whether or not it is actually haunted. Because the way that this house functions, like if you don't know, you can't actually make a haunted house residential lot into a rental house. So the lot type that we got with paranormal stuff, you can't make a haunted house into a rental lot. So the way that I solved that issue is by actually using the lot challenge that we got with the City Living expansion pack. So I believe it's called the Spooky Lot Challenge. So ghosts should actually show up, but it's not going to be the same as like the haunted residential lot type. So you won't have Guidry or Temperance specifically showing up. You won't have like the creepy dolls and the specters and whatnot, but you should have a ghost here every once in a while. And I kind of like that idea, especially if you're going to use this as a rental lot. It would make more sense to to have a ghost every once in a while where it's not certain whether or not this house is actually haunted, or maybe it's like a group of teens that's going to stay here, and they kind of dare each other to stay one of the bedrooms by themselves, and kind of telling each other ghost stories. So about the ghost stories, there's also going to be a fire pit in the backyard, which came with Outdoor Retreat game pack. And I believe actually that also comes with the functionality to be able to tell each other ghost stories. And when you do that, a ghost might show up as well. So I think that goes really nicely with the idea that this is actually a haunted house. So that is, about the backstory of this house. As you can see, the structure and the floor plan came together quite quickly. I did actually use a reference for this house, a picture that I found on Pinterest. So just so you guys know, I didn't completely think of this structure by myself. But it was just like a picture of the facade. So I did take some elements from the facade and incorporated that in this build. But then I had to completely wing the floor plan and the back of the house as well. So sometimes I just really like to look at pictures of floor plans and actually kind of not necessarily really copy the floor plan, because that's really difficult to do in The Sims, but kind of sort of replicate the floor plan and build a house based off of a floor plan that you see. Sometimes I like to base a house off of a picture of a facade that I see. It kind of depends. Sometimes I just think something out of my head and I make it up completely by myself, but often I do like to use a bit of a reference. One new way that I kind of thought of that is super nice to use for reference or find references for houses is to use the street view in Google. I really like going, especially in American neighborhoods. Like the houses look so different to what I'm used to in the Netherlands, but it's like super cool because I can just go through any random American suburban neighborhood and I'm like, oh my God, these are all just Sims houses, because uh, architecture in the Netherlands looks completely different from architecture in America, and also from what you would see in The Sims. But yeah, anyway, so as you can see, I'm now furnishing this house, and I'm working on the kitchen. And by the way, I really, really liked how this kitchen turned out in the end. I used some of the Spooky Day wood on the wall, and I just really like how that kind of gives that old feeling to this house. So yeah, I don't really like talking about what I'm doing, because you can just see it on the screen anyway. So if you're interested, I kind of wanted to quickly talk about the new pack that is going to be released next week, I believe on the 17th of February. And it's going to be the My Storings game pack for The Sims 4. And I'm just wondering, what do you guys think of it? Are you excited? Are you not super excited? I have mixed feelings, if I'm completely honest. On the one hand, I am quite excited. I did see the live stream actually of the Sims team, and the world of Tartosa looks amazing. So I'm super excited to play in that world and build in that world. And I also really enjoy the concept, because the weddings in The Sims 4 were just a little bit bland. I mean, you can just host a wedding after your work event and be done with it in like a few hours. And now it's a lot more involved. You can pick exactly what kind of activities you want to do during your wedding, and also there's a lot more events available that are previous to your wedding. So it does look exciting in that sense, but I definitely do have a concern about how this is actually going to work. I mean, The Sims 4 is notoriously buggy, and it is difficult to have your Sims do what you tell them to do. And whether that is just something simple like cooking a meal or using the toilet, if you're going to throw a wedding and you have to micromanage every single aspect of that wedding, from the moment when your Sims are going to walk down the aisle to the moment where the flower girl is going to, or the flower pal, flower pal is going to show up, and when you're going to do your first dance or whatever, it's just so hands-on. So there's just a lot of room for error and a lot of room for your Sims to just ignore you like they usually do. I mean, Sims just kind of are like that. And I don't know if you have seen the stream that the Sims team did the other day. They actually struggled quite a few times to have the Sims do what they told them to. And that is what I'm super nervous about. And I feel like that can kind of break, this pack completely, because if you're going to buy this pack because you want to do those weddings, and then, that aspect is just super annoying, or it doesn't work properly, then you're not going to play with this pack and you're not going to get your money's worth out of that pack. So I'm pretty nervous about that, but I still definitely have an open mind, and I'm excited to get my hands on that pack and to play with it and see how it works for myself. I do really love the world, so even if I might not play a lot with the wedding aspect of the pack, I'm still probably going to enjoy the world a lot and have my Sims vacation there. That seems like a really fun thing to do. So yeah, now I am actually in the last room in this house, which is the bathroom, which, by the way, there's only going to be like one fully functional bathroom upstairs, which is kind of less than ideal when it comes to the floor plan of this house. Downstairs there is like a little powder room, but there's not going to be a shower there. You can easily put one if you want to. I would suggest using the university shower or the snowy escape shower, but I didn't put one because I felt like an open shower wouldn't be super traditional in a house like this, so it just have like a shower tub combo upstairs. Yeah, here you see me putting in the fire pit where your Sims can tell their ghost stories if they want to. And lastly, I'm just going to be decorating the porch, as well as I'm going to be putting some detailing on the roof, which is like this very traditional detailing that you often find on Queen and Victorian houses. And yeah, overall, I think this house blends into the world of Willow Creek really nicely, especially in this neighborhood. So like I said in my previous house, where I built the house of the Goth family, so the Goths are going to be living here in this neighborhood. There's also going to be a cemetery that you can just see on the screen right now. And then this rental house, and I do want to put in another Victorian house where another family is going to live. I haven't decided yet what family that would be. But yeah, just doing the finishing touches of the house, and I think we should be coming near the end of this speed build. Yeah, there we go. Here are the screenshots. So please enjoy looking at the screenshots. I am going to leave this voiceover right here. I hope you enjoyed this video. So please leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you did. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!